to another edition of the sewing course, and for this exercise I'm going to show you the basic workings of the sewing machine, and that includes the basic feet that you would use in everyday tasks. Okay, so the first thing what we do is switch on the machine. Now this one is computerized, so all of our workings are in this panel here. And when it's booted up, there we go, it's booted up now. What I like to do is have my stitch length at 3.5. Now this bar here indicates that, so we'll just put that to 3.5. And then over at this side, I like to always keep the needle in the down position, so that when I'm working, and every time I stop with the needle, it always stops in the down position, so your work can never come out. Right, next part, we're going to take the bobbin out, and we need to fill this bobbin with the thread that we're going to use. Now in here you usually get a bobbin case and the bobbin, or the bobbin holder. It's either called a bobbin holder, bobbin case, or spool holder, so 3 names for it, and we have here the bobbin. So we need to fill this with the thread that we're going to be using. Okay, so the first thing what we're going to do is thread up the sewing machine. So I have here my thread, and we need to fill up this spool with the white thread to get going. So first thing we do is just rig up the sewing machine in order for this to fill up the spool. Now all machines are going to be different, but generally it is the same principle. Okay, here we have, on my machine, we have the spool holder to fill it up on the top of the sewing machine, and there's like a little guide here. Now if I was to just press the foot now, it tells me also on the screen that the bobbin is on, and we're filling now the bobbin. I just escape that. Mine does that because it's an electronic machine, you see. So we're just filling up the spool now with the white thread, and it's finished. Now it's reasonably quick with these machines, so when you've done that we can just cut the thread. Now mine has a little cutter here, and that is ready to go into the spool. Now here I'm going to carry on threading the sewing machine, so they are relatively easy. So come down to the needle part and put the foot down so it just secures everything. With some machines we have an automatic needle threader here, so I'm just going to bring that down, and it just threads our needle automatically for us. Oh, that's not caught. Try again. I'm just going to hold the back as it goes through, and there we go. Our thread, our needle is threaded. Okay, so we can just lift that up, put the thread here behind the foot, and put the foot back down again. Now the bobbin and bobbin holder should go together. So we have here the bobbin, and it just gets positioned into the bobbin holder. And I pull this back, which is like a lock mechanism for the bobbin, and just thread. It's going to thread this thread through the way it likes to sit on the bobbin. There's like a little hole, like a sort of a kind of a ratchet system here, and a small hole, and it needs to go through that, and we just position the bobbin into the bobbin race into the machine. And with this machine, again, it's got like a little cutter, so we're just going to cut that off, and the machine is now ready to go. Now with this one, it brings up the thread automatically to the top. So the needle goes in, it goes out, and as you can see, it's pulled this thread from the bobbin race to the top through the feed dogs, and we can now put both threads to the back of the machine and bring the foot down. So we are now ready to sew something. This machine is now ready to go. Now, the things that I'm going to cover today are the basic workings of the machine, and I'm going to cover the basic 6 feet that I would use in everyday projects. The feet are, we've got the standard zigzag foot, which is already in the machine. We've got the button sewing on foot. We have a jeans foot, denim foot, or it's basically the very, very heavy fabrics or lots of layers. We have a buttonhole foot, which produces buttonholes. We have a concealed zipper foot, and we have a standard zipper foot. Now, apart from all of those things, I have all my needles just here in a box with me all the time, so I've just put that at the back of the sewing machine. I have my standard scissors, tape measure, and in here lots of spare bobbins for different colours of thread and things like that. So the first foot that I'm going to show you now is the zigzag foot. Now, I've got my foot in the sewing machine already. It easily just comes off and goes back on, and we're just going to just put some fabric on the sewing machine here. Now, the zigzag foot is the main foot that is used all the time for every single project, just about, because not only does it go in a straight line like so, you can also zigzag as well. Okay, so this is basically your multi-purpose foot that you can use for everything. I'm just going to go back the other way. And you can see here that it's basically done a zigzag stitch. And like I say, it's just your general purpose foot. So we can just take this foot out. We'll just cut these threads. And I'm going to now show you the jeans foot. Now, the needle I have in at the moment is a 100 needle. Okay, so that is good for all purpose fabrics. Now, we have here a pair of jeans, and this is the bottom part of the jean. So we're talking, it's rolled up, it's rolled here, it's back again, and then it's back on itself. So there's 3 layers of denim here. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to fold that over to cause this to have four layers, I think. Yeah, it'd be 1, 2, 3, 4 layers. We're going to put our jeans foot on. Now, the jeans foot is shaped like this. You've got just one groove, so it cannot zigzag, and you have a hole just here, so that the needle goes through this hole, obviously, but there's no room for movement. That's why it's such a good, robust foot to use for jeans. So we'll just put that on, put the threads to the back, lift up the foot. Now, just watch how easy this goes through. See that? Straight through. Absolutely no problems at all. And even when we get to this part here, which is the seam, so in actual fact, there's going to be something like 10 layers of denim at this point here. And obviously go carefully, but look at that, just so smooth, like a knife through butter. Straight through. And as you can see, that there is absolutely perfect for sewing very, very thick layers. It just goes straight through, no movement for the needle to move, so the needle doesn't break, straight through. Fantastic foot. Okay, so we'll just take that off. And the next foot, what I'm going to show you, is the zip foot. Now, this is a standard zipper foot, okay? Now, it's just a thin foot, and you've got a groove on this side and a groove on the other side, and it means that you can use this foot for either sewing the zip on the right hand side or the left hand side. So I'm just going to attach this zip onto this cloth. So we just put the zip foot down, and of course it's going to be really close to the coil. Now you have to move the needle to the left hand side or the right, whichever place that it's going to go through the groove. So this foot lies right next to the coil without going over the coil, and as you can see, it stitches right on the edge, right near the coil, which is absolutely fantastic. Now if I move over to the other side, all you have to do is then position your needle to the other side. Now if you've got a manual one, you will basically move the foot. There'll be like a little screw within the foot. You undo the screw and you will move the foot accordingly. This machine is an electronic machine, so I can just move the needle whichever place that I want it to be in. So again, we're just stitching right near the edge, right near the coil, to attach this zip in. So that is how the zip foot works. As you can see, it's attached very neatly, and it's right near the coil. It's right on the edge of the coil. Now that's the standard zipper foot. The next foot I'm going to show you is called a concealed zip foot. Now this here is a concealed zip, and you can see that the teeth are situated on the bottom of the zip itself, and it's just flat on the top. Okay, so when you open this zip, you can see that the coil can be rolled over. Okay, and that's what this zip does. This foot rolls the coil on the zipper. So I'm just going to show you how that works now. So we need to just first of all attach this zipper with the standard zip foot. So that's why it's very important to have both feet. So we're going to just attach, we're just going to attach this zip onto the fabric first of all. So we need to position this needle over this side because we're right on the edge of the coil. So we're just going to stitch that just to secure first of all, like so. Let's go a bit further with that. Take that out. And we're now going to open up the zipper, because what we need to do is this fabric has to lie right close to the coil itself. Okay, so that's now the job for the concealed zip foot. So we're just going to lift the foot up here, take that one off, put this zip on, this foot on, and the needle needs to be positioned with this foot right in the middle. Now before I put it on, the zip foot on, what we do is we'll just put that into the groove of the coil, which will go into the groove of the foot just here. And as I stitch along, as you can see, what it's doing is it's moving the coil automatically as we're sewing. So you don't have to worry about that at all. So what we'll do is we'll just go right to the end. Right to the end. And you can back tack, forward tack, lock the stitches in, everything. These feet are so versatile, it's just fantastic. So just take that out of the groove. And if I show you now, that zip is positioned exactly in the middle of where it would open. So if I open this zip, it will open right next to the coil, and when I close it, as you can see, if it was attached on the other side as well, it causes this beautiful line where you do not see the zip at all. So that is the concealed zip foot. Absolutely perfect for putting in the concealed zip, and it does that because of the shape of the grooves. Okay, so the next foot I'm going to show you is called the button sewing on foot, and it's called that because it literally stitches buttons on. So I've got my button here, I've got my foot. I'm just going to attach the foot into the sewing machine, like so. Okay, so we'll bring it over our fabric. So with this, there's an automatic setting for stitching a button on with the sewing machine, so it will set it for me automatically. Now again, with other machines you can just put the zigzag on and it will do the same sort of thing. So we need to put the feed dogs, you need to set the feed dogs down, so then obviously the feed dogs are not moving like this and they're not wanting the fabric to go. So the feed dogs, which are these things here, they go down and set themselves down into the machine. And we're just going to position this foot onto the fabric. And as you can see, it just stitches the button on very, very nicely. So there we go, that's actually on. That's literally how quick the machines can do it nowadays. So there we go, button sewing on there. I'll just take these threads off as well. Now certain machines lock the button. Now if I do that again, and I'm going to show you in, the needle, the threads come out, so I'll just re-thread that on the needle. This machine, what it actually does is it starts off by locking the stitches. Now it's a complete automatic program, is this. So start off, see, down a few times, locking the stitches, and then it starts and locks the stitches on that side. Now that side, now that side. As you can see, so it's a great sewing on program, is this Bernina. Now all machines will do them in that way, but they are different, but the result is the same. Your button is sewn on, so it's really, really simple to do. Now for the final thing, and the final foot, I'm going to show you a button. We're going to be stitching a button. So this is the button hole foot, and it creates buttonholes basically. And as you can see, it's a zigzag. It's got a very wide part here. So if I'm going to double over this fabric again, so we get like a really nice stitch. So there's a few layers there. And we're now going to create a buttonhole. Now there is a groove here on the side of the foot, and what that does is you can gauge the length of the buttonhole itself. So you can put your tape measure right by the side of the groove and measure the length of your buttonhole by this groove. So I always have my tape measure ready. So we're just going to go down the first side and create this. Oh, of course, I forgot to put the feed dogs up. You see, there you go, you see. Because I forgot to put the feed dogs up, the machine wasn't moving at all, and it just holds the button in place. So I've now put the feed dogs back up so that we can start stitching this buttonhole. Now, I'm going to stitch a 2 cm in length buttonhole. So we're just going to come to the end of there. So now I've measured it from where the groove is here on the buttonhole, because it measures 2 cm. So I can take that away now because I can see the exact buttonhole. And what it does is it goes back up. We'll go to the third part. And now we're going back down the other side. This is what's called a manual buttonhole, because of course it's doing everything in a manual way. And now it's just going to lock the stitches, and we have now, as you can see here, created a perfect buttonhole. So I'm just going to get my scissors, cut the threads on there, and as you can see, it's now ready for an unpicker to just cut that through. Or what you can do is get some scissors, just fold the fabric over, just clip that, turn it the other way, like so, and we have now a perfect buttonhole. So there you go. There is the main basic workings of the sewing machine, covering the main multi-purpose feet that you would use for everyday tasks. Those 6 feet that I showed you are the main feet that you would use. I mean, there is lots of other feet available in the range, like roller, hemmer feet, leather feet, automatic buttonhole feet, but they are just feet that you could get to elaborate your range of feet if you wanted to. But the 6 that I showed you are the main feet that you can use with every project possible. Okay, because the zigzag foot as well will cover the edge of the fabric in a zigzag formation as to do an overlock stitch as well. Obviously it's not the same as a proper overlocking stitch, but it will do the same kind of task. If your sewing machine has an overlock stitch function on there, you can just use your zigzag foot and away you go. You don't need a proper overlocker. So there you go, that's the basic workings of the sewing machine, and you don't really need to know any more. That's it. You can do every task now with those features.